Okay. I don't want to start laughing as soon as we start shooting. You obviously make me nervous, Pete. Or I just scrape it with some of the jokes. All right, so welcome back to the Pretty Good Feed. This is the first one in quite some time now. So the world has been turned on its head, and we started doing this cooking show a few months ago, which was to encourage cooking outdoors and adventure and exploring. And now half the world's on lockdown. So we are going to continue on with this show, and it's going to be the Pretty Good Feed, kind of cooking at home in the back garden. Still cooking on barbecues, maybe jump in the kitchen with the kids, but just want to show you guys some how-tos and just using up stuff in the fridge. Real basic, real simple, but really tasty food. So we're going to make a really simple risotto today using squash, some corn, and ricotta that we're going to make from just some milk and some lemon juice. And we're going to use the whey from the ricotta, flavour it up with some herbs and stuff, and use that to make a really tasty vegetarian risotto. So let's get cracking, shall we? All right, so this is the setup today. So just a little fire pit. We burnt off some bamboo. We've been doing all sorts of stuff with the garden. So we burnt this off earlier on. I've got Mags's Le Creuset pot here, which is her favourite, so I need to do this really quickly. And all I've got is milk. So I'm going to bring that up almost to the boil and then add some acid to that to curdle it. I'll use some lemon juice, maybe a touch of apple cider vinegar. It will split it, and I'm just going to set that aside for a couple of minutes. And that's really how you make ricotta. So we'll pour that off, and then I'll put the whey back on the heat, and we're going to use that as our base for our ricotta. All right, 1.5 litres of milk. I'm going to bring him up slowly, give it a bit of a stir because you don't want him to catch on the bottom. And it's just starting to kind of almost come to the boil now. And once it does, I'm just going to add my my acid and let it separate. And ideally, like if you're making this, firstly you can flavour the milk with, you know, rosemary, thyme, you know, spices if you want to flavour your ricotta. You can enrich it by adding some more fat, so it's really, it loves a bit of cream. So usually you make it with, you know, a little bit of cream and milk. But I just wanted this to be really sort of pared back. I want these dishes to be sort of 3 or 4 ingredients. Quiet on set. So I'm just going to cut these puppies in half. I'm becoming an expert at little toys, and especially Lego. I'm really into Lego, Pete. And pop in our lemon juice.
So what do you got then? 2 lemons?
Oh, a couple of small lemons. And you can see it starting to curdle almost immediately there. And I'm going to use this beautiful whey. Flavour it up with some bay leaves, some onion trimmings, garlic, basil stalks. And then we use that for our stock, for our risotto. Whilst that's rested, so that'll be about 5 minutes. We'll give that 5 minutes to just chill for a little bit. And whilst we're doing that, we'll collect a few things from the garden. So I want to get some bay leaves, some basil we're using anyway, so I'll wind the stalks in there. We'll prep our corn, and then the cob, I'll cut that up, and that can flavour the stock as well. And then we'll prep the onion, pumpkin, that's it. So I have a bit of corn, an onion, some butternut squash, and that's real garlic, mate. That's from the farm, from Josh. So that's banana garlic, which is beautiful. Corn, obviously we spoke about last time, but there's loads of it around at the moment, so I just absolutely love it. The reason I'm prepping it now is I wanted to use the flavour from the cob. So I'm just going to cut these away, and just a little tip, just to get the most out of your corn, I just scrape it with the back of a knife, and you can just see all of these, it just gets all of those little, all the all-important flesh and juice. So that's Charlie in the background. So obviously we've been housebound, as of most young families, which has been it's pretty testy, but I must say it has been a bit of a joy to cook. Cook every night for the family. It's not, ironically, not something that a lot of chefs get to do. Onion scraps, I'll go like a little bit of the garlic, onion trimmings into our stock pot, like so. This much. You know what? So this recipe came about, when I was working at Tet's, there was a guy called David Pegram who was a sous chef, and he was amazing. And he's like one of the sort of unsung heroes of, you know, the kitchen world. You meet a lot of these chefs that are awesome and so talented, and no one's really ever heard of him. But he was amazing, and he taught me so much. He used to work for Marco Pierre White back in the day, and he was his sous chef. From an amazing pedigree of cooks. But for staffies, he would cook this. Yeah, it was a pumpkin and corn risotto with basil, and I think it was an old bank dish back in the day, or certainly a flavour profile. So it was like this iconic restaurant in Sydney, run by Liam Tomplin, and loads of sort of awesome chefs came through that, sort of like Warren Turnbull and Colin Fassnage, Timmy from Milk and Honey in Mullumbimby. Came from there, and it was just his awesome place. So yeah, it was a really simple flavour combo, but it just works really well. So that's sort of where this came from. Bay leaves. I've got our it's like basil. Pick off some leaves and just the basil stalk. Some parsley stalks here too, and then with that I'll just wind in some pepper, and I'll just put some of the lemon peel in. To flavour our whey as well. Pinch of salt. Pour this, so now I'm going to pour the whey over our sort of vegetable offcuts. So the ricotta will be caught in this. This is just a cheesecloth. You can use muslin if you like. I'll let that drip off. Like so. I'll pop our whey back on the heat. Despite the sort of kids screaming in the background, like it is worth spending just like a few minutes just to, you know, obviously you can add white wine, you can add veg stock, chicken stock, you can add all sorts, because we're making our own stock on the fly. Like it is just worth just taking a couple of minutes just to let this come to the boil, just to extract as much flavour as possible from the corn and the bay and the onion and garlic. And even after a couple of minutes, like you can smell the lemon. What does it taste like?
Like garlic.
So yeah, you can already taste like the garlic and the lemon and the corn, so that's cool. So like, you can just see it boiling away there, Pete. And we'll use that to cook our risotto rice. Thank you. So it's my runner, Magdalena Rose. Just some of the jokes. Cast iron pan on the heat. I'll use some of the old Three Blue Ducks cultured butter. Good knob of butter. Butter, a little bit of olive oil. And then I'll just get the onions and garlic, sweat them down first for a minute or so. Good pinch of salt. And some pepper. That's a little bit of basil from Archie. In with the rice. So just arborio, that's just, you know, risotto rice. So now at this stage, classically you'd have some, like some booze, some white wine. But we've only really been drinking red wine, to be honest, so it's probably not, there's not much in the house, so I'm just gonna go the whey. And to be honest, there's so much flavour in that whey and the veggies anyway, it's gonna be fine. But if you wanted to add white wine, now's the time. I know a lot of people say you've got to add it one layer at a time. You have to stir it like crazy and let all the liquid absorb it, and manipulate the rice in order to extract all the starch, and all that's great, but mate, to be honest, life's too short. I'm just gonna I'll probably do it in 3 stages. So I'll add some whey, sit down, have a drink, just listen to the birds, give it a stir, add a bit more. So yeah, and to be honest with you, mine always comes out really, really creamy. So yeah, it's up to you. But basically, you just need to cook the rice in that stock, do it how you want. I don't care. So just a little important note, Pete. So if this cooks down, and you don't think you're gonna have enough stock, just top it up with a little bit of water, absolutely fine. So it's getting there. So that's had sort of 5 to 10 minutes. You see the butternut squash is starting to cook down. Smells pretty epic. I'll pop in the last of our stock, Pete. So it's about 4 or 5 minutes cooking, so now we're going to add our sweet corn. Amazing.
Yeah. They like the whey.
More salt.
That was just...
Where is it? Is it? I'll go and see Mum. So now we'll just chop some herbs. So we've got some parsley, some basil. Mags? It's like 2 minutes away. Let's take her off the heat. Right, so I'm going to wind in some of our ricotta. Touch of olive oil. There goes some lemon zest. I'm just going to have just some hard cheddar, just to give it a bit more bite as well. Bloody, some of the herbs. Mate, how good does that look? That's awesome. That's so good. It's great. So there's our whey risotto. Corn, butternut squash, and a little bit of basil, and other stuff from the garden. So really, really easy to make. But if you do nothing else, try and have a go at making the ricotta at home, and send some pics. Tag in Pretty Good Feed if you like. And yeah, good luck with that. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll be posting more in the coming weeks. And thanks for watching.